Welcome to Fog Over Baker Street by the Glitch Bureau. This book covers create an original Golden Age-inspired mystery set in early 1930s London. The story centers around a respected public figure who becomes the target of blackmail after private documents are stolen. A consulting detective with a reputation for observation and calm reasoning must uncover the identity of a calculated mastermind operating through manipulation rather than violence. The story should emphasize foggy London atmosphere, drawing room tension, reputation at stake, quiet psychological warfare, and intellectual confrontation. Chapter 1: The Theft Discovered. It was a night when the mist clung to the cobblestones of London like a shroud, muffling the sounds of the bustling city into a quiet, eerie whisper. The gas lamps along the streets cast a dim, yellow glow that barely penetrated the dense fog, creating an atmosphere ripe for secrets and shadows. In the heart of this fog-drenched city, Sir Reginald Hargrove, a man known for his poise and public service, returned home to a scene that would unravel his calm demeanor. Sir Reginald's study was a sanctuary of order and tradition, its wood-paneled walls lined with books that spoke of a life dedicated to duty and knowledge. But tonight, as he pushed open the heavy oak door, he was met not with the comforting sight of his meticulously arranged domain, but with chaos. Papers were strewn across the floor, drawers left ajar, and the faint scent of cigar smoke lingered in the air. A scent he did not recognize. His heart quickened as he surveyed the room, his mind racing with the implications of such a violation. Among the scattered documents, his gaze fell upon the empty space where a locked drawer had once concealed his most sensitive files. These were no ordinary papers. They contained private communications and confidential reports that, if exposed, could tarnish his reputation beyond repair. Panic gripped him, a rare sensation for a man accustomed to control. He sank into his leather armchair, the weight of potential scandal pressing heavily upon him. In the quiet of the room, he could almost hear the whispers of society, the judgment of peers, and the headlines that would surely follow. It was not merely his career at stake, but the honor he had spent a lifetime building. In this moment of desperation, Sir Reginald knew he needed a mind as sharp as the blade of a knife, someone who could navigate the labyrinth of intrigue that now threatened to engulf him. There was only one man he trusted for such a delicate matter: Arthur Sinclair, the consulting detective whose reputation for solving the unsolvable was renowned throughout London. Sinclair was a man of quiet confidence, known for his keen observational skills and calm reasoning. His office on Baker Street was a haven for those entangled in the webs of deceit and manipulation. As Sir Reginald made his way through the fog-laden streets to seek Sinclair's counsel, he felt a glimmer of hope amidst the encroaching dread. Arriving at Sinclair's modest yet distinguished office, Sir Reginald was greeted by Emily Carter, Sinclair's loyal assistant. Her presence was reassuring, her demeanor professional yet warm. She led him into the consulting room, where Sinclair awaited, his eyes sharp and attentive behind wire-rimmed glasses. "Sir Reginald," Sinclair greeted him with a nod, "I understand you've encountered a rather troubling situation." "Troubling is an understatement, Mr. Sinclair," Sir Reginald replied, his voice tinged with urgency. "Confidential documents have been stolen from my study. If they are made public, it could mean the end of my career." Sinclair listened intently, his expression thoughtful. "Tell me everything you can about the circumstances," he prompted, leaning forward slightly. "Every detail, no matter how trivial it may seem, could be of importance." As Sir Reginald recounted the events of the evening, Sinclair's mind was already piecing together the puzzle. The detective's ability to see beyond the obvious, to read between the lines of what was said and unsaid, was legendary. It was not long before he began to form a picture of the potential motives and the type of individual who might orchestrate such a daring theft. "The critical element here," Sinclair mused, "is understanding not just who would benefit from your downfall, but who possesses the means and opportunity to act upon it. We must also consider the psychological profile of someone who prefers manipulation over direct confrontation." Emily, ever observant, interjected with a question that had been forming in her mind. "Sir Reginald, have you noticed any unusual behavior among your staff or colleagues recently? Anything that might suggest someone was gathering information or acting out of character?" Sir Reginald paused, considering her question. There have been tensions in the office, subtle shifts in alliances perhaps, but nothing overt. However, I did receive a rather odd inquiry about my schedule from a colleague last week. At the time, I thought nothing of it. A potential lead, Sinclair noted, making a mental note to explore this angle further. We must proceed with caution. The fog of uncertainty is thick, but with careful deduction, we shall navigate through it. With a plan beginning to form, Sinclair and Emily prepared to delve into the undercurrents of Sir Reginald's world, where reputation and power were currencies of their own. The stage was set for a mystery that would test their intellect and resolve, as the fog over Baker Street began to lift, revealing the contours of a case steeped in intrigue and danger. Chapter 2: A Reputation in Peril. The morning fog clung to the cobblestones of Baker Street, a thick, swirling presence that seemed to echo the turmoil within Sir Reginald Hargrove's mind. Seated in his study, his fingers trembled slightly as he unfolded the crisp, white envelope that had arrived with the morning post. The seal, a simple wax insignia, was unremarkable, yet the contents within threatened to unravel his carefully curated public persona. "My dear Sir Reginald," the letter began, the ink dark and menacing against the paper. "I trust you will understand the gravity of the situation. A sum of £10,000 will ensure the safe return of your documents. Failure to comply will result in their public disclosure, revealing your vulnerabilities for all to see." The words were a dagger, each sentence a twist further into his heart. Sir Reginald, a man of stature and influence, felt the weight of the world pressing down upon him. His reputation, built over decades, now hung by a thread. Arthur Sinclair, the consulting detective renowned for his calm demeanor and incisive intellect, sat opposite Sir Reginald. His expression was one of quiet contemplation as he examined the letter, his eyes flicking over every detail with practiced precision. Beside him, Emily Carter, his loyal assistant, took notes, her pen moving swiftly across the page. "The paper is of fine quality," Sinclair remarked, holding it up to the light. "A watermark, faint but discernible. It may lead us to the source." Emily nodded, her gaze unwavering. "We should begin by tracing the paper. It's a start, at least." Sir Reginald leaned back in his chair, his face etched with worry. "You must understand, Mr. Sinclair, the implications of this. My position, my family, everything is at risk. And we shall do everything in our power to resolve this matter discreetly," Sinclair assured him, his voice steady and reassuring. As the morning light struggled to penetrate the fog outside, the atmosphere within Sir Reginald's household grew tense. The staff moved about with a quiet efficiency, their eyes casting furtive glances as whispers circulated behind closed doors. Every member of the household, from the butler to the gardener, was a potential suspect, and the weight of suspicion hung heavy in the air. Sinclair and Emily began their investigation in earnest, starting with the letter itself. The peculiar watermark, a delicate emblem of a lion rampant, was their first clue. It was a symbol associated with a particular stationery shop known for its bespoke products and discerning clientele. "We shall pay a visit to this establishment," Sinclair decided, rising to his feet with a determined air. "Emily, make a list of potential customers who might have purchased such paper recently." "Of course, Mr. Sinclair," Emily replied, her mind already formulating a plan of action. The fog had lifted slightly by the time they reached the shop, its windows displaying an array of fine papers and writing implements. The shopkeeper, a man of middle years with a keen eye for detail, greeted them warmly. "Good day to you, Mr. Sinclair. How may I assist you?" Sinclair presented the letter, pointing to the watermark. "We are interested in this particular paper. Can you tell us who might have purchased it recently?" The shopkeeper considered the question, his brow furrowing in thought. "Ah, yes, I recall. It is a popular choice among our more distinguished clients. Let me see." He retrieved a ledger from beneath the counter, flipping through the pages with practiced ease. "Here we are, a list of recent purchasers. You'll find several notable names, including a few members of the peerage and some from government circles." Emily took note of the names, her expression thoughtful. "This will certainly give us a starting point. Thank you for your assistance." Back at Sir Reginald's residence, the tension was palpable. Sinclair and Emily gathered the household for a brief assembly, their presence a reminder that the investigation was underway. "I understand this is a difficult time for all of you," Sinclair addressed them, his tone measured. "Rest assured, we will uncover the truth, but for now we ask for your cooperation and discretion." The staff nodded, a murmur of agreement passing through the room. Yet, beneath the surface, unease simmered. Each individual was acutely aware that they were under scrutiny, their every action potentially suspect. As the day wore on, Sinclair and Emily pored over the list from the stationery shop, cross-referencing it with Sir Reginald's acquaintances and known associates. The task was meticulous, requiring patience and an eye for detail, qualities both detective and assistant possessed in abundance. The fog had returned by evening, casting an eerie glow over the gaslit streets. Sinclair stood by the window, gazing out at the swirling mist as he considered the implications of the blackmail. It was a calculated move, designed to exploit Sir Reginald's vulnerabilities without resorting to overt violence. The mastermind behind it was cunning, preferring psychological manipulation over brute force. "We must consider the possibility that the blackmailer is someone within Sir Reginald's circle," Emily mused, joining him at the window. "Someone who understands the stakes and knows precisely how to apply pressure." "Indeed," Sinclair agreed, his mind racing through the possibilities. "It is a delicate game they play, one of intellect and leverage, but we shall uncover their identity, of that I am certain." The investigation continued into the night, each clue a piece of the puzzle that slowly began to take shape. Sinclair's methodical approach, combined with Emily's keen insights, brought them closer to the truth with each passing hour. In the drawing room, Sir Reginald paced restlessly, his mind a whirlwind of anxiety. The threat of exposure loomed large, and with it, the potential collapse of everything he held dear. Yet, amidst the turmoil, a flicker of hope remained, kindled by the presence of Sinclair and Emily, whose determination to protect his reputation was unwavering. As the clock chimed midnight, the fog outside thickened, enveloping the city in its ghostly embrace. But within the confines of Sir Reginald's home, the detective duo pressed on, driven by a singular purpose: to unravel the mystery and safeguard the honor of a man whose reputation was in peril. Chapter 3: The First Clue in Plain Sight. Arthur Sinclair sat at his desk, the faint aroma of pipe tobacco lingering in the air, as he examined the blackmail letter once more. The room was dimly lit, the only illumination coming from a small lamp that cast a warm glow over the polished wood surface. The fog outside pressed against the window panes, a constant reminder of the murky depths of the case he was unraveling. The letter was an unremarkable piece of correspondence at first glance, yet Sinclair's keen eyes had detected something others might easily overlook: a peculiar watermark embedded in the paper. It was this detail that had set his mind alight with possibilities. The watermark, a delicate emblem of a quill and parchment, was unique to a particular brand of stationery, one that could only be procured from a small, exclusive shop in the heart of London. "Emily," Sinclair called, his voice steady and thoughtful. His assistant, Emily Carter, entered the room promptly, her presence as reassuring as ever. Her sharp mind and unwavering dedication had proven invaluable in many a case, and Sinclair knew that her skills would be crucial in the task ahead. "Yes, Mr. Sinclair," she replied, her eyes reflecting both curiosity and determination. "I believe we have our first tangible lead," Sinclair said, gesturing to the letter. "The watermark here. It leads us to a specific stationery shop. I suspect this will be our gateway into uncovering the identity of our elusive blackmailer." Emily nodded, understanding the significance of the discovery. "Shall I prepare to visit the shop, then?" she asked, already anticipating the next step. "Indeed," Sinclair affirmed. "Your approach will be crucial. We need to gather a list of recent customers who purchased this particular paper. It may seem a simple task, but the implications could be profound." The following morning, the pair found themselves on a bustling London street, the fog hanging low and thick as they made their way to the stationery shop. The city was alive with the sounds of horse-drawn carriages and the distant clatter of tramcars, a symphony of urban life that seemed to underscore the gravity of their mission. As they entered the shop, the bell above the door tinkled softly, announcing their arrival. The interior was a quaint, orderly space filled with the scent of parchment and ink. Shelves lined with fine paper, quills, and ink pots created an atmosphere of timeless elegance. The shopkeeper, a bespectacled gentleman of advancing years, greeted them with a polite nod. "Good day, madam, sir. How may I assist you?" Emily stepped forward, her demeanor both cordial and purposeful. "Good day. We are interested in a particular type of stationery you stock. It bears a distinctive watermark of a quill and parchment. Might you have a record of those who have purchased it recently?" The shopkeeper adjusted his spectacles, considering her request with a measure of curiosity. "Ah, yes, that would be our literary collection, quite popular among a certain clientele. Let me see what I can find." As he disappeared into the back room, Sinclair and Emily exchanged a knowing glance. This was the moment that could pivot their investigation, turning speculation into actionable intelligence. After a few moments, the shopkeeper returned, a small ledger in hand. "Here we are," he said, opening the book to reveal a list of names. "These are the individuals who have purchased that particular paper in the last month." Emily scanned the list, her eyes widening slightly as she recognized several names. "These are no ordinary customers," she murmured, her voice tinged with intrigue. "High-profile individuals, indeed." Sinclair leaned in, his gaze settling on the names that seemed to leap from the page. Each one was a figure of significance, individuals whose motives for blackmail could range from financial desperation to political maneuvering. It was a veritable who's who of London's elite, each with their own secrets and potential for scandal. "This opens a new avenue of investigation," Sinclair remarked, his mind already weaving connections between the names. "We must consider not only their access to the stationery, but their motives. Each of these individuals could potentially benefit from Sir Reginald's downfall." Emily nodded, her thoughts aligning with Sinclair's. "We should begin by examining their backgrounds, looking for any ties to Sir Reginald or reasons they might wish to see him compromised." The shopkeeper, sensing the gravity of their discussion, offered a discreet cough. "If it is of any assistance, I can provide further details on the purchase's dates, quantities, that sort of thing." Sinclair smiled, appreciating the man's willingness to assist. "That would be most helpful, thank you." As they left the shop, the fog seemed to part slightly, as if acknowledging the clarity they had gained. The list of names was a tangible thread in the intricate tapestry of the case, one that Sinclair and Emily would now follow with renewed vigor. Back at Sinclair's office, the two settled into a familiar rhythm, poring over the information they had gathered. The list of customers was laid out before them, each name a potential lead, a piece of the puzzle that could unlock the mystery. "Let's begin with those who have the most to gain," Sinclair suggested, his mind already calculating the angles. Financial records, social connections, any past indiscretions that might suggest a willingness to engage in blackmail. Emily took notes diligently, her mind sharp and focused. "We should also consider their proximity to Sir Reginald. It could be someone within his circle, someone who knows him well enough to exploit his weaknesses." Sinclair nodded, appreciating her insight. "Precisely. The blackmail letter was crafted with a keen understanding of Sir Reginald's vulnerabilities. This is someone who knows him intimately, or at the very least, has access to someone who does." As they worked, the fog outside began to lift, revealing the bustling city beyond. It was as if the city itself was urging them onward, encouraging them to peel back the layers of deception that shrouded the truth. Hours passed, filled with the quiet rustle of papers and the soft murmur of discussion. Each name on the list was scrutinized, their lives dissected in search of any detail that might hint at guilt. It was a meticulous process, one that required patience and a keen eye for detail. As the day wore on, Sinclair leaned back in his chair, his mind sifting through the information they had gathered. "Emily, what do you make of Lady Beatrice?" he asked, his tone thoughtful. Emily considered the question, recalling the details they had uncovered. "She is certainly an enigma. Her connections to the political sphere are extensive, yet her personal life is shrouded in secrecy. There are whispers of financial troubles, but nothing concrete." "And yet," Sinclair mused, "her name appears on the list, and she has the means and motive to orchestrate such a scheme. We must keep a close eye on her." Emily nodded, making a note of it. What about Lord Pembroke? His name stood out to me as well. Ah, Lord Pembroke, Sinclair said, a hint of amusement in his voice. A man of many vices, yet remarkably adept at keeping them hidden. His financial dealings are questionable at best, and his association with certain unsavory characters is well documented. He could be a key player, Emily suggested, her mind racing with possibilities. Indeed, Sinclair agreed. We must consider all angles, all potential connections. The web of high society and government circles is intricate, but it is not impenetrable. As they continued their discussion, the fog outside thickened once more, a reminder of the mystery that still lay before them. Yet within the confines of Sinclair's office, a sense of clarity was emerging. The list of names was more than just a collection of individuals. It was a map, guiding them toward the heart of the conspiracy. With each passing moment, the fog of mystery began to lift slightly, revealing glimpses of the intricate web they were entangled in. It was a web of power and reputation, of secrets and silence, and at its center lay the truth they sought to uncover. As the day drew to a close, Sinclair and Emily remained resolute, their determination unwavering. The first clue had been found, the first thread pulled, and now it was only a matter of time before the entire tapestry unraveled, revealing the mastermind behind the blackmail and the truth hidden in plain sight. Chapter 4. Suspicion among the inner circle. The evening air was thick with the damp embrace of London's notorious fog, curling around the gaslit streets like a living entity. Sinclair and Emily arrived at the private club, a bastion of exclusivity nestled within the heart of the city. As they stepped inside, the warmth of the drawing room enveloped them, offering a stark contrast to the chill outside. The room was alive with the soft clink of glasses and the low hum of conversation, creating an atmosphere charged with the kind of tension that only the upper echelons of society could muster. Sinclair, ever the keen observer, scanned the room with a practiced eye. His gaze flitted over the guests, taking in the subtle nuances of their interactions. Emily, standing by his side, mirrored his composure, her presence a steady anchor in the swirling sea of social intrigue. Together they were here not just as guests, but as silent investigators, seeking to unravel the tangled web of secrets that lay beneath the polished veneer of civility. As they moved through the crowd, polite nods and brief exchanges punctuated their progress. The club's opulent surroundings provided a fitting backdrop for the evening's proceedings, its wood-paneled walls and plush furnishings lending an air of gravitas to the gathering. Sinclair's attention was soon drawn to Lady Beatrice, a figure of elegance who seemed to carry an invisible weight upon her shoulders. Her eyes darted nervously, betraying a mind preoccupied with concerns beyond the immediate festivities. Sinclair leaned slightly toward Emily, his voice barely above a whisper. "Observe Lady Beatrice. Notice how she avoids prolonged conversation, her fingers tapping lightly against her glass. There's an unease about her that speaks volumes." Emily nodded, her own observations aligning with Sinclair's. Indeed, she seems distracted, as though her thoughts are elsewhere. It would be prudent to learn more about her recent activities. The evening unfolded with a series of whispered conversations and discreet glances. Sinclair and Emily, adept at navigating such social currents, engaged with various guests, each interaction a piece of the larger puzzle. The club, with its rich history and storied members, offered a microcosm of the broader society, a place where reputations could be both made and unmade. As the evening progressed, Sinclair's attention was drawn to a small group gathered near the fireplace. Among them was Lord Pembroke, a man whose jovial exterior belied a sharp intellect and a penchant for influence. His laughter, though genuine, carried an undercurrent of calculation, a reminder that in such circles, every word and gesture held significance. Emily, ever perceptive, noted the dynamic at play. Lord Pembroke seems to be the center of attention, yet there's something guarded about him. His eyes, while smiling, are constantly assessing those around him. Sinclair nodded, his mind already piecing together the intricate dance of alliances and rivalries. It's often those who command attention with ease who have the most to conceal. We must tread carefully, for in this environment, even the slightest misstep can have far-reaching consequences. As the evening wore on, Sinclair and Emily continued their subtle investigation, gathering insights into the personalities and potential motives of those present. The social dynamics at play offered a rich tapestry of clues, each interaction a thread leading closer to the truth. It was in these moments, amidst the laughter and light-hearted banter, that the true nature of the guests revealed itself. Lady Beatrice, for instance, had a brief, tense exchange with a gentleman whose identity Sinclair recognized as Sir Charles, a man with a reputation for discretion and influence. The conversation, though conducted in hushed tones, was charged with an intensity that suggested more than mere pleasantries. Sinclair made a mental note to delve deeper into their connection, suspecting that it might hold the key to understanding her nervous demeanor. Meanwhile, Emily engaged in conversation with Miss Eliza, a young woman of sharp wit and keen observation. Their discussion, though seemingly innocuous, provided Emily with valuable insights into the undercurrents of the evening. Miss Eliza, with her unassuming charm, had a knack for uncovering details that others might overlook, making her an invaluable source of information. As the clock inched toward midnight, the gathering began to disperse, guests bidding their farewells and donning their coats in preparation for the journey home. Sinclair and Emily lingered a moment longer, their minds abuzz with the revelations of the evening. The fog outside awaited, a fitting metaphor for the mystery that still shrouded their investigation. Sinclair turned to Emily, his voice thoughtful. "We've gathered much this evening, yet the picture remains incomplete. Lady Beatrice's anxiety, Lord Pembroke's guardedness, Sir Charles's intensity, each piece is significant, yet we must discern how they fit together." Emily nodded, her expression resolute. "Indeed, there's much to consider, but with each step we draw closer to the truth. The fog may be thick, but it cannot obscure our path forever." With that, they stepped out into the night, the fog enveloping them once more. The streets of London, with their endless secrets and hidden stories, stretched out before them, a labyrinth waiting to be unraveled. In the quiet of the evening, amidst the whispers of the city, Sinclair and Emily knew that the answers they sought were within reach, waiting to be uncovered by their unwavering dedication and sharp intellect. Chapter 5: The Language of Silence. Sinclair stood at the window of his wood-paneled office, watching the fog roll in like a silent conspirator in the unfolding drama. The gaslit streets of 1930s London were shrouded in a thick mist, an apt metaphor for the case that had brought him to this moment of quiet contemplation. The city outside seemed to hold its breath, as if aware of the delicate dance of intellect and manipulation playing out within its bounds. Emily Carter, his steadfast assistant, entered the room with a file in hand. "I've gathered the backgrounds on our suspects, Mr. Sinclair," she said, her voice steady but tinged with the urgency of their task. "Each one presents a tangled web of secrets and past indiscretions." Sinclair turned from the window, his keen eyes meeting hers. "Excellent, Emily. Let us see what patterns emerge from their histories. Often, the language of silence speaks volumes more than words uttered in haste." They settled into the task, the room filled with the soft rustle of papers and the occasional creak of the chair as Sinclair leaned back, lost in thought. Emily began to outline the lives of their suspects, each tale revealing layers of ambition, betrayal, and the quiet desperation that often accompanies a life lived in the public eye. "Consider Lady Beatrice," Emily began. "Her family name carries weight, but her personal life is riddled with scandal. A discreet affair with a foreign diplomat, with whispers of gambling debts. She stands to lose much if certain truths were to surface." Sinclair nodded, his mind already piecing together the implications. "And yet, she is but one piece of the puzzle. What of Lord Pembroke?" Emily flipped through her notes. "A man of influence, yet his recent financial ventures have been less than successful. He is heavily invested in a new shipping line, one that could fail spectacularly if his creditors were to lose confidence." "Intriguing," Sinclair mused. "Both have much to protect, yet neither fits the profile of a mastermind. We seek someone who thrives not on chaos, but on control." He paused, considering the broader implications. What if the true antagonist uses these individuals as mere pawns, leveraging their fears and secrets to orchestrate a grander scheme? The language of silence, in this case, becomes a tool of power. Emily's eyes widened with understanding. You mean someone who manipulates from the shadows, using the threat of exposure as their weapon? Precisely, Sinclair replied. Our task is to provoke them into revealing themselves, but subtly, without tipping our hand. With a plan forming, Sinclair outlined his strategy. We shall employ the art of silence and subtlety. By creating an environment where our adversary feels secure enough to act, we might catch a glimpse of their true nature. Emily listened intently, her respect for Sinclair's methodical approach deepening. How do we begin? She asked, eager to set their plan in motion. We start by observing the interactions among our suspects, Sinclair explained. Their reactions to certain stimuli will tell us much. For instance, a casual mention of a new development in Sir Reginald's case at the next social gathering might stir our antagonist into action. Emily took note, her mind already racing with possibilities. And if they take the bait, what then? Then we shall be ready, Sinclair assured her. A trap laid with care and patience, much like a chess game played in silence. The key is to listen, not just to what is said, but to what is left unsaid. The fog outside thickened, wrapping the city in its embrace, as Sinclair and Emily prepared to engage in a battle of wits with an unseen enemy. The language of silence had become their ally, a means to draw out the truth from the shadows. As they delved deeper into the backgrounds of their suspects, patterns began to emerge. Each individual, while unique in their circumstances, shared a common thread: vulnerability. Whether through financial ruin, personal scandal, or the threat of public disgrace, they were all susceptible to the machinations of a skilled manipulator. Sinclair's plan hinged on exploiting these vulnerabilities, not with malice, but with the precision of a surgeon cutting away the diseased tissue to reveal the healthy core beneath. By understanding the fears that drove these individuals, he hoped to unmask the puppet master pulling their strings. At their next opportunity, Sinclair and Emily attended a gathering at the exclusive Langham Club, a haven for London's elite. The room was a study in opulence, with its heavy drapes, polished wood, and the soft glow of chandeliers casting a warm light over the assembled guests. As they mingled, Sinclair observed the interactions with a practiced eye. Lady Beatrice, despite her outward composure, seemed distracted, her gaze flitting nervously around the room. Lord Pembroke, on the other hand, was the picture of confidence, yet Sinclair noted the subtle tension in his posture, the way his fingers drummed an anxious rhythm against his glass. It was during a lull in conversation that Sinclair made his move. "I hear there's been a development in Sir Reginald's case," he remarked casually, his tone light but his eyes sharp, watching for any flicker of reaction. The effect was immediate. Lady Beatrice's hand trembled, nearly spilling her drink, while Lord Pembroke's expression tightened, his jovial facade slipping for just a moment. It was enough for Sinclair to confirm his suspicions. The news had struck a chord. As the evening wore on, Sinclair continued to weave his web of silence, allowing the tension to build. He spoke little, yet his presence was felt, a reminder of the unseen forces at play. The language of silence was indeed powerful, a tool that, when wielded with care, could unravel even the most intricate of schemes. Returning to their office, Sinclair and Emily reviewed the evening's events. "Our adversary is clever," Sinclair admitted, "but they are not infallible. Their reliance on silence as a weapon may prove their undoing." Emily nodded, her confidence in their plan growing. "We'll continue to watch and wait then. The truth will reveal itself in time." And so, with patience and resolve, Sinclair and Emily prepared for the next phase of their investigation. The fog of uncertainty was beginning to clear, but the path to resolution remained fraught with danger. Yet, with the language of silence as their guide, they were determined to see justice served. Chapter 6: A Calculated Trap. The alley was a narrow corridor of shadows, its cobblestones slick with the evening mist that clung to the city like a shroud. Arthur Sinclair stood at its entrance, his silhouette barely discernible against the dim glow of a distant gas lamp. The air was thick with suspense, a tangible tension that seemed to pulse with the beat of his own heart. Somewhere in the depths of this murky passage, the truth awaited, elusive yet tantalizingly close. Sinclair had orchestrated this moment with meticulous care. The false information he had leaked was designed to lure the blackmailer into the open, a calculated risk that could either unravel the mystery or plunge them deeper into the fog of deception. The stakes were impossibly high. Sir Reginald Hargrove's reputation teetered on the brink, threatened by the shadowy figure who wielded blackmail as a weapon. As Sinclair waited, his mind replayed the events that had led them here. The theft of the documents, the sinister letters, and the web of secrets that ensnared everyone involved. Each piece of the puzzle had been carefully examined, yet the picture remained incomplete. It was this uncertainty that gnawed at him, the sense that the true architect of this scheme was still hidden in the shadows, manipulating events with a deft hand. Emily Carter, his loyal assistant, was a steady presence by his side. Her keen eyes scanned the alley, alert for any sign of movement. It was her unwavering support that grounded Sinclair, her insights often illuminating paths he might have overlooked. Together they formed a formidable team, their partnership forged in the crucible of countless investigations. "Do you think they'll take the bait?" Emily's voice was a soft whisper, barely audible above the distant hum of the city. Sinclair nodded, though his gaze remained fixed on the darkness ahead. "If our adversary is as clever as we suspect, they won't be able to resist. The opportunity is too tempting." The minutes stretched, each one an agonizing eternity. Then a faint scuffle echoed from the alley's depths, a sound so subtle it might have been imagined. Sinclair tensed, every sense heightened, as a figure emerged from the gloom. The man's features were obscured by the brim of his hat, his movements cautious yet purposeful. "Stay back," Sinclair murmured to Emily, stepping forward to confront the newcomer. The air between them crackled with unspoken challenge, the tension almost palpable. "Evening, Mr. Sinclair," the man said, his voice smooth and unhurried. "I must commend you on your ingenuity. A trap within a trap, is it?" Sinclair's eyes narrowed, his mind racing to identify the figure. "You seem to know me, yet you remain a mystery. Perhaps you might enlighten us?" The man's chuckle was low, almost mocking. "All in good time. For now, let's just say that I have a vested interest in Sir Reginald's predicament." "Interest or involvement?" Sinclair countered, his tone sharp. "Perhaps both," the man replied, his smile a ghostly crescent in the shadows. "But you should know, Mr. Sinclair, that the game is far from over. You've merely scratched the surface." With that, the man turned, disappearing back into the labyrinthine alley. Sinclair made to follow, but Emily's hand on his arm stopped him. "Let him go," she urged. "We have more to gain by observing than by chasing shadows." Sinclair nodded reluctantly, acknowledging the wisdom in her words. The confrontation, though brief, had confirmed his suspicions. The mastermind was indeed a step ahead, orchestrating events with a skill that rivaled his own. The challenge was undeniable, yet so too was the allure of the chase. As they made their way back to Baker Street, Sinclair's mind was a whirlwind of thoughts. The encounter had provided valuable insights, yet it also underscored the complexity of the web they were entangled in. The fog of deception was thicker than ever, obscuring the path forward and testing the limits of his deductive skills. The following day dawned with a pale sun, struggling to pierce the persistent London fog. Sinclair and Emily convened in his wood-paneled study, the air heavy with the scent of leather and old books. The room was a sanctuary of sorts, a place where ideas could be dissected and strategies formulated. "We need to reassess our approach," Sinclair began, pacing the length of the room. "Our adversary is adept at manipulation, using misdirection as a tool. We must anticipate their moves, think several steps ahead." Emily, seated at the desk, nodded thoughtfully. "The key lies in understanding their motives. Why target Sir Reginald specifically? What do they hope to achieve?" Sinclair paused, considering her words. Reputation is a powerful currency, especially in the circles Sir Reginald moves in. To undermine it is to wield considerable power. But there's more to it. There's a personal element, a vendetta, perhaps. "Then we need to delve deeper into Sir Reginald's past," Emily suggested. "Uncover any connections or grievances that might have gone unnoticed." Sinclair agreed, his mind already mapping out the next steps. "We'll need to revisit the list of suspects, examine their histories for any link to Sir Reginald. Additionally, I have a contact in the government corridors who might provide insights into any discreet dealings." The investigation took on a renewed urgency, each clue scrutinized with fresh eyes. Sinclair and Emily divided their efforts, she focusing on the social circles while he pursued leads within the government. The days passed in a blur of interviews and research, each revelation adding another layer to the intricate tapestry of deceit. One afternoon, as Sinclair sat in his study reviewing notes, a letter arrived, its envelope bearing an unfamiliar seal. He opened it with care, his eyes scanning the elegant script. The message was brief, yet its implications were profound. A former associate of Sir Reginald had come forward, willing to share information in exchange for anonymity. Sinclair wasted no time, arranging a discreet meeting at a secluded cafe. The informant, a nervous man with darting eyes, revealed a series of transactions that hinted at financial impropriety. Though the details were sparse, they pointed to a possible motive for blackmail, an attempt to silence Sir Reginald before a scandal erupted. The revelation was a breakthrough, yet it also complicated matters. The mastermind's strategy was now clearer, but their identity remained shrouded in mystery. Sinclair's mind raced, piecing together the fragments of evidence, each one a potential key to unlocking the truth. As evening descended once more, Sinclair and Emily reconvened to share their findings. The atmosphere was charged with a mix of anticipation and frustration, the endgame tantalizingly close yet still out of reach. "We're closing in," Sinclair said, his voice a blend of determination and caution. "But we must tread carefully. Our adversary is cunning, and any misstep could prove costly." Emily nodded, her expression resolute. "We'll find them, Arthur. We've come too far to turn back now." The stage was set for the final confrontation, a battle of wits that would determine the fate of Sir Reginald and the resolution of the case. The fog over Baker Street was lifting, revealing the contours of a truth that had long been obscured. Yet as Sinclair and Emily prepared to face their elusive foe, they knew that the path ahead was fraught with peril, the outcome uncertain until the very end. Chapter 7. The Mastermind Reveals His Strategy. The air was thick with anticipation as Sinclair entered the drawing room, a space steeped in the quiet elegance of polished mahogany and the muted glow of gas lamps. The fog outside pressed against the windows, a swirling curtain that seemed to whisper secrets of its own. Inside, however, the atmosphere was charged with the kind of tension that only a confrontation of minds could bring. Emily Carter, Sinclair's steadfast assistant, had just returned from an errand that would prove pivotal. She had uncovered a connection between two seemingly disparate suspects, a revelation that promised to unravel the tangled web of deceit. Her discovery was a testament to her keen instincts and the thoroughness with which she approached her work. As she relayed her findings to Sinclair, the pieces of the puzzle began to fall into place. "It appears," Emily began, her voice steady but tinged with excitement, "that Lady Beatrice and Mr. Edward Farnsworth have been in correspondence for some time, under the guise of a shared interest in art. However, the letters suggest a much deeper connection, one that hints at mutual interests beyond the canvas." Sinclair nodded, his eyes narrowing as he processed this new information. The art world is often a convenient mask for other dealings. It seems our mastermind has orchestrated a symphony of manipulation, with each player unaware of their part in the larger scheme. The realization dawned upon them both. The blackmail was not an isolated incident, but part of a grander design. Sinclair's mind raced as he considered the implications. The mastermind had used leverage not only to extract money, but to weave a network of influence, binding his pawns with threads of fear and ambition. "We must confront him," Sinclair declared, his voice firm with resolve. "But first, we need to ensure that we have all the evidence at hand. The drawing room will serve as our stage, and the truth shall be our script." The setting was perfect for the confrontation. The drawing room, with its heavy drapes and opulent furnishings, was a place where secrets had been both whispered and shouted, where reputations were both made and unmade. It was here that Sinclair would lay bare the strategy of the mastermind, revealing the intricate dance of power and deception. The suspects were gathered, each one a piece on the chessboard, unaware of the checkmate that awaited. Lady Beatrice, her nervous demeanor barely concealed beneath a veneer of calm, sat beside Mr. Farnsworth, whose confidence seemed to waver under Sinclair's scrutiny. Sir Reginald, the beleaguered public official, watched with a mixture of hope and dread, his reputation hanging in the balance. "Ladies and gentlemen," Sinclair began, his voice cutting through the tension like a knife, We are here to uncover the truth, a truth that has been obscured by shadows and whispers, but one that will now come to light." He paused, allowing the weight of his words to settle over the room. Each pair of eyes was fixed upon him, the air thick with anticipation. Sinclair's gaze swept across the room, noting the subtle shifts in posture, the flicker of eyes, the tightening of lips. These were the signs he had learned to read, the silent language of guilt and innocence. "The blackmail," he continued, "is but a single thread in a tapestry of manipulation. Our mastermind has orchestrated a scheme that extends beyond mere extortion. It is a strategy of influence where silence is bought and loyalty is coerced." Emily stepped forward, presenting the letters she had uncovered. These correspondences reveal a connection that goes beyond art. They speak of alliances, of shared interests that serve a common goal. Lady Beatrice shifted uncomfortably, her composure slipping. "I assure you, Mr. Sinclair, my interests are purely artistic," she protested, though her voice lacked conviction. Sinclair regarded her with a knowing smile. "Art, indeed, can be a powerful medium for expression, but in this case it serves as a veil for something far more insidious." He turned to Mr. Farnsworth, whose expression had hardened into a mask of defiance. "And you, sir, have been a willing participant, your ambitions blinding you to the consequences of your actions." Farnsworth's eyes met Sinclair's, a flicker of fear betraying his bravado. "I've done nothing wrong," he insisted, though the tremor in his voice suggested otherwise. "Perhaps not in the eyes of the law," Sinclair conceded, "but in the court of conscience, your complicity speaks volumes." The room was silent, the only sound the ticking of the mantel clock, each tick a reminder of the time slipping away. Sinclair knew that this was the moment to press his advantage, to lay bare the strategy that had ensnared them all. "The core principle of our mastermind strategy is simple: leverage. By exploiting the weaknesses of others, he has crafted a network of influence, each player bound by their own fears and desires." He paused, allowing the implications to sink in. "More often than not, it is not the act itself, but the fear of exposure that holds power. Our antagonist has wielded this fear with precision, ensuring silence through the threat of scandal." Emily nodded, her expression one of admiration for Sinclair's insight. "The effectiveness is notable. By keeping each player isolated, he has ensured that no one could see the full picture." Sinclair's gaze returned to Lady Beatrice and Mr. Farnsworth. "Picture this situation: a web of influence where each strand is a connection, each knot a secret. Our mastermind has positioned himself at the center, pulling the strings with calculated precision." Lady Beatrice's composure crumbled, her facade of innocence shattered. "I never meant for it to go this far," she confessed, her voice a whisper of regret. Farnsworth's bravado gave way to resignation. "We were promised protection, influence. We didn't realize the cost until it was too late." Sinclair nodded, his expression one of understanding rather than judgment. "The allure of power is often blinding, but the true cost is measured in integrity and honor." The room was silent once more, the weight of revelation settling over those gathered. Sinclair had laid bare the strategy of the mastermind, revealing the intricate layers of deception that had ensnared them all. "The truth has been revealed," Sinclair concluded, his voice firm yet compassionate. "Now, it is up to each of you to decide how you will move forward, with the knowledge that the fog of deception has lifted." As the gathering dispersed, Sinclair and Emily remained in the drawing room, the tension dissipating into the quiet of the evening. The fog outside had begun to clear, revealing the familiar outlines of Baker Street, a reminder that even in the darkest of mysteries, the light of truth would eventually prevail. "It seems," Emily remarked, "that the fog over Baker Street has lifted, if only for a moment." Sinclair nodded, his gaze thoughtful. "Indeed, but the lessons learned will linger long after the fog has cleared." With the mastermind's strategy revealed, the quiet battle of wits had come to an end, leaving behind a sense of resolution tempered by the knowledge that in the world of influence and power, the true cost of truth is often measured in the shadows it leaves behind. Chapter 8: A False Conclusion. The gaslights flickered dimly as the evening fog rolled in, wrapping Baker Street in a thick, impenetrable shroud. Inside his modest yet meticulously organized office, Arthur Sinclair sat at his desk, his brow furrowed in deep concentration. A single lamp cast a pool of light over a collection of papers and photographs, the tools of his trade. It was here, amidst the shadows and the silence, that he believed he had unraveled the mystery that had gripped London's elite. Sinclair leaned back, allowing himself a rare moment of satisfaction. The case had been a tangled web of deceit and manipulation, but he had followed the threads to what seemed a logical conclusion. Yet, as he reached for the tea Emily had thoughtfully prepared, a sharp knock at the door broke the stillness. Emily Carter, his steadfast assistant, entered with urgency etched across her face. "Arthur, you must see this," she said, handing him a sealed envelope. The paper was thick, the handwriting elegant yet unfamiliar. Sinclair opened it carefully, his eyes scanning the contents with increasing incredulity. The letter contained a new piece of evidence, one that contradicted the very foundation of his conclusions. It was as if the fog outside had seeped into his mind, clouding the clarity he had so painstakingly achieved. "This changes everything," he murmured, more to himself than to Emily. The certainty that had anchored his deductions now felt like sand slipping through his fingers. Emily, ever perceptive, sensed his disquiet. "What do we do now, Arthur?" she asked, her voice steady and reassuring. Sinclair stood, pacing the length of the room, his mind racing to reassess the situation. "We must return to the beginning," he said finally. "Every assumption, every observation must be re-examined. There is a psychological game at play here, one that we have underestimated." As the evening deepened, they pored over the evidence anew. The fog of uncertainty was thick, but Sinclair was undeterred. He knew that within this haze lay the truth, obscured by layers of deception and psychological warfare. The new evidence was a letter, purportedly from the mastermind behind the blackmail. It was filled with cryptic references and subtle threats, designed to unnerve and disorient. But Sinclair saw it for what it was, a calculated move to mislead and manipulate. "Think of it this way, Emily," he said, tapping the letter with a finger. "This is not just about the documents or the blackmail. It's about power and control, about bending others to one's will through fear and uncertainty." Emily nodded, her keen mind already working through the implications. "The important thing to remember is that this individual thrives on leverage. They're playing a game of chess, and we must anticipate their next move." With renewed determination, Sinclair and Emily set about reconstructing the events of the past weeks. They revisited each suspect, each interaction, searching for inconsistencies and hidden motives. The fog of doubt was thick, but Sinclair's resolve was unwavering. "Experience indicates that the truth often lies in what is not said," Sinclair mused, recalling the tense drawing-room encounter with the prime suspects. "We must listen to the silences, the pauses between words." As they delved deeper, a pattern began to emerge. The mastermind's strategy was one of psychological pressure, exploiting the vulnerabilities of their victims. Sir Reginald Hargrove, the respected public official at the center of the scandal, was but a pawn in a larger game. Sinclair's mind, sharp as ever, began to piece together the fragments of this complex puzzle. On a related note, Emily, consider the timing of the blackmail letters. Each one arrived at a moment of heightened tension, designed to maximize fear and uncertainty. Emily considered this, her eyes alight with understanding. The letters are not just demands for money. They're psychological weapons meant to destabilize and control. As the night wore on, Sinclair's thoughts turned to the suspects, each with their own secrets and motives. Lady Beatrice, with her nervous demeanor and whispered conversations, had seemed a likely candidate, but now, with this new evidence, Sinclair saw her in a different light. "The key lies in understanding the mastermind's true objective," Sinclair said, his voice filled with conviction. "This is not merely about financial gain. It's about reputation and power, about wielding influence from the shadows." With this realization, Sinclair felt a renewed sense of clarity. The fog of uncertainty was beginning to lift, revealing the contours of a truth that had eluded him. But the stakes were higher than ever, and the pressure to resolve the case was mounting. As dawn broke over a still foggy London, Sinclair and Emily prepared to confront the suspects once more. The truth was within reach, but it would take all of Sinclair's deductive abilities to uncover it. The game was afoot, and the outcome hung in the balance. In the quiet moments before the confrontation, Sinclair reflected on the nature of the battle he was fighting. It was a war of intellect and manipulation, where victory was measured not in physical triumph, but in the unmasking of deception. "The fog may obscure the path," Sinclair said, his voice filled with quiet determination, "but it cannot hide the truth forever." With Emily by his side, Sinclair stepped into the fog once more, ready to face the final challenge. The truth was out there, waiting to be revealed, and Sinclair was determined to bring it to light. Chapter 9, The Final Deduction. The fog hung thick over Baker Street, a familiar shroud that seemed to obscure not just the streets, but the very truths Sinclair sought to uncover. It was under this heavy veil that the detective found himself once more at the scene of the crime, the grand yet solemn Hargrove estate. The air was cool and damp, and the gas lamps cast a muted glow, barely penetrating the mist. Sinclair stood in the study, the room where the theft had taken place, and let his eyes wander over the familiar surroundings. The wood-paneled walls and the heavy drapes seemed to hold secrets of their own, whispering tales of what had transpired within. It was here that Sir Reginald Hargrove had discovered his private documents missing, setting off a chain of events that threatened to unravel his esteemed reputation. As Sinclair surveyed the room, his keen mind replayed the sequence of events. The desk, polished to a sheen, bore no obvious signs of disturbance. Yet it was here that the documents had been stored, and it was here that they had vanished. He moved slowly, deliberately, allowing his senses to guide him to what might have been overlooked. It was then that he noticed it, a small, seemingly insignificant detail that he had missed before. A slight indentation on the carpet near the bookshelf, a mark that suggested something had been placed there recently. Kneeling down, Sinclair examined the spot more closely, his fingers brushing over the fibers. It was a subtle clue, one that spoke volumes to the trained eye. With this newfound insight, Sinclair began to reconstruct the events leading to the theft. He envisioned the room as it must have been on that fateful night, the shadows playing tricks on the mind, the silence punctuated only by the ticking of the clock. It was a scene of quiet tension, where the thief had moved with calculated precision, exploiting the cover of night and the trust of the household. Sinclair's mind raced with possibilities, each thread of thought weaving into a tapestry of deduction. He considered the motives, the opportunities, and the intricate web of relationships that bound the suspects together. More often than not, it was these connections that provided the key to unlocking the mystery. With a renewed sense of clarity, Sinclair decided it was time to gather all parties involved. The drawing room of the Hargrove estate would serve as the stage for the dramatic reveal. It was a setting befitting the gravity of the situation, a place where intellect would clash with manipulation, and where the truth would finally come to light. As the guests assembled, the air was thick with anticipation. Sir Reginald sat with a stoic expression, his eyes betraying the turmoil within. Lady Beatrice, her earlier nervousness now replaced with a veneer of calm, took her place among the others. The suspects, each with their own secrets and fears, exchanged wary glances. Sinclair stood before them, his demeanor composed yet authoritative. He began by recounting the events leading to the theft, painting a vivid picture of the crime and the subsequent blackmail. His voice was steady, each word measured and deliberate, drawing the listeners into the intricate narrative. He spoke of the watermark on the blackmail letter, the list of suspects, and the subtle clues that had pointed him in their direction. He described the psychological pressure exerted by the mastermind, a figure who thrived on leverage and manipulation rather than brute force. Worth noting, Sinclair continued, is the pattern of behavior that emerged among the suspects. Each had something to hide, a past they wished to keep buried, yet it was the smallest detail, the most overlooked clue, that revealed the truth. He paused, allowing the weight of his words to settle over the room. The tension was palpable, the silence almost deafening. Then, with a calm certainty, Sinclair revealed the identity of the true mastermind. It was a name that took the room by surprise, a revelation that left the guests in stunned silence. The mastermind, Sinclair explained, had orchestrated the theft and blackmail with meticulous precision. They had exploited the vulnerabilities of those around them, weaving a web of deceit that ensnared even the most cautious of individuals. It was a testament to their cunning, yet also their downfall, for in their arrogance, they had overlooked the very detail that would lead to their exposure. As the truth unfolded, the fog of mystery lifted, revealing the complexity of the plot and the motives that drove it. Sir Reginald, though relieved, understood the consequences that would follow. The resolution of the case brought with it a bittersweet sense of closure, a reminder of the delicate balance between public honor and private weakness. In the aftermath, Sinclair reflected on the nature of reputation and the quiet battles fought in the shadows. It was a world where intellect clashed with manipulation, where the stakes were as high as the consequences were dire. Yet in the end, it was through calm reasoning and keen observation that the truth was revealed. The fog over Baker Street had lifted, leaving behind lessons of intellect and integrity. The case had tested Sinclair's abilities to their limits, yet it had also reaffirmed his belief in the power of deduction. As he and Emily departed the Hargrove estate, the gaslit streets of London seemed a little clearer, the path ahead illuminated by the light of truth. Chapter 10. Truth in the Fog. The morning light filtered through the heavy curtains of Sir Reginald Hargrove's study, casting long shadows that seemed to echo the tumultuous events of the past weeks. The air was still, yet filled with a palpable tension, as Arthur Sinclair, the consulting detective, sat across from the beleaguered public official. The fog that had so persistently clung to Baker Street was finally lifting, revealing not just the cobblestones beneath, but also the intricate web of deceit that had ensnared Sir Reginald. It appears, Sir Reginald, that the truth, much like the fog, has a way of dissipating to reveal what lies beneath, Sinclair remarked, his voice steady and reassuring. The resolution of the case had brought a sense of relief to Sir Reginald, yet the consequences for those involved were undeniable. The mastermind behind the blackmail, a figure once cloaked in the anonymity of high society, had been unmasked, and with that revelation came a cascade of repercussions. Sinclair's assistant, Emily Carter, stood by the window, her gaze fixed on the bustling street below. "It's remarkable how much power a single piece of paper can wield," she mused, reflecting on the stolen documents that had set this entire ordeal in motion. The documents, now safely returned, were mere paper, yet they had the potential to topple reputations and ruin lives. Sinclair nodded thoughtfully. "Reputation, my dear Emily, is a fragile thing. It is built over a lifetime, yet can be shattered in an instant. The quiet battles fought in the shadows, the ones that never make the headlines, are often the most consequential." His words hung in the air, a testament to the delicate balance of power and honor that had been at the heart of their investigation. As the dust settled, Sinclair and Emily contemplated the impact of their work. The case had tested their intellect and integrity, pushing them to the very limits of their deductive abilities. It was a reminder that in the world of high stakes and hidden agendas, truth was not just a matter of fact, but a matter of perspective. "Do you think the cost of uncovering the truth was worth it?" Emily asked, her voice tinged with introspection. She turned to face Sinclair, her eyes searching for reassurance. "The cost of truth is always a lingering question," Sinclair replied, his gaze steady. "Yet in the end, it is the pursuit of truth that defines us. It is what separates those who merely exist from those who truly live." His words were a balm, offering a sense of closure, even as they acknowledged the complexities of their chosen path. The fog over Baker Street had lifted, leaving behind lessons of intellect and integrity. As Sinclair and Emily prepared to leave Sir Reginald's study, they knew that their work was far from over. The delicate balance of power and honor would continue to shape their investigations, guiding them through the murky waters of human nature. As they stepped out into the crisp morning air, the streets of London stretched out before them, a labyrinth of secrets waiting to be uncovered. The city, with its gaslit alleys and discreet corridors, was a place of endless intrigue, and for Sinclair and Emily, it was home. "What lies ahead, I wonder?" Emily asked, a hint of curiosity in her voice. "Whatever it is, we will face it together," Sinclair replied, his tone resolute. "For in the end, it is not the fog that defines us, but the clarity with which we see through it." With that, they set off down Baker Street, their footsteps echoing in the stillness of the morning. The fog may have lifted, but the mysteries of London remained, waiting for those with the courage and intellect to unravel them. Chapter 11. Order restored, but at what cost? The morning after the resolution of the case dawned with a crispness that was rare for London. The fog that had shrouded Baker Street for so long seemed to have lifted, replaced by a clarity that mirrored the newfound peace in Sir Reginald Hargrove's life. Yet, as Arthur Sinclair and Emily Carter sat in the cozy confines of their office, there was an unspoken understanding that the conclusion of the case had left more than just resolved mysteries in its wake. "It's a curious thing, isn't it?" Sinclair mused, his eyes fixed on the steam rising from his cup of tea. "The restoration of order often comes at a price, one that is not always immediately apparent." Emily nodded, her thoughts echoing his sentiments. "Indeed, while Sir Reginald's reputation is intact, there are others who have paid dearly for the truth to come to light. Relationships have been strained, and trust has been irrevocably altered." Their conversation drifted into a comfortable silence, punctuated only by the occasional crackle of the fireplace. It was a moment of reflection, a chance to consider the implications of their work beyond the immediate satisfaction of solving a case. "Consider this scenario," Sinclair began, leaning back in his chair. "A man builds his life on a foundation of honor and integrity. Yet, when faced with the threat of scandal, he must rely on the discretion and skill of others to maintain that facade. The question then becomes, does the restoration of order truly serve him, or merely the image he has cultivated?" Emily pondered his words, recognizing the delicate balance between public perception and private truth. "It's a balancing act, isn't it? In our line of work, we often see how the pursuit of power and reputation can lead to manipulation and deceit. Yet, in restoring order, we must also consider the human cost." "Precisely," Sinclair agreed. "The core principle is that while intellect and deduction can reveal truths hidden in the fog, they cannot undo the shadows cast by those truths." Their discussion turned to the alliances formed during the investigation. Sir Reginald, once a solitary figure, had discovered allies in unexpected places. Lady Beatrice, whose nervousness had initially drawn suspicion, emerged as a steadfast supporter. Her own reputation, once tarnished by association, had been restored through her unwavering loyalty to the truth. "It's interesting how adversity can forge new bonds," Emily observed. "Lady Beatrice, for instance, has become a trusted confidant to Sir Reginald. Their shared ordeal has created a connection that might not have existed otherwise." Sinclair nodded, acknowledging the resilience of human relationships in the face of adversity. With this in mind, we must also consider the implications for those who sought to manipulate the situation. The mastermind, while cunning, underestimated the strength of character in those he sought to exploit. The conversation shifted to the broader themes of the case: reputation, power, and the quiet battles fought in the shadows. Sinclair and Emily reflected on the enduring nature of these struggles, recognizing that while the fog had lifted, the shadows of the past lingered. "Reputation is a fragile thing," Sinclair remarked, his tone contemplative. "It can be shattered in an instant, yet it is also remarkably resilient. The truth, once revealed, can restore what was lost, but it cannot erase the memory of the deception that preceded it." Emily considered this, her thoughts turning to the individuals who had been caught in the web of manipulation. For some, the cost of truth is a loss of innocence, a recognition that the world is not as straightforward as it seems. For others, it is a chance to rebuild, to learn from past mistakes, and forge a new path. As the conversation drew to a close, Sinclair and Emily shared a moment of quiet understanding. Their work, while challenging, offered a unique perspective on the human condition. It was a reminder that in the pursuit of truth, there were always lessons to be learned and new challenges to face. "The fog may have lifted," Sinclair concluded, "but the journey continues. Our task is to navigate the shadows with integrity and honor, to seek out the truth wherever it may hide." Emily smiled, her resolve strengthened by his words. "And in doing so, we not only restore order, but also reaffirm our commitment to justice and truth." As they prepared to leave the office, the streets of London beckoned, their familiar fog-laden paths a testament to the mysteries yet to be uncovered. With a sense of purpose, Sinclair and Emily stepped into the world beyond, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The story closed with a sense of restored order, though the cost of truth remained a lingering question. In the quiet moments that followed, Sinclair and Emily reflected on the impact of their work, recognizing that while the fog over Baker Street had lifted, the shadows would always remain, a testament to the complexities of human nature and the enduring quest for truth.